right, should we rock and roll?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're dialing in from, and welcome to our webinar today. Thank you so much for joining. Today, we're going to be talking about the importance of eComm and mobile as marketing and selling channels, particularly in the world of resale. My name is Kathleen Owen. I'm the VP of Marketing here at Bravo, and it's a pleasure to be a presenter and a host today. Real quickly, we'll go over the agenda. Today, what we're going to cover is really a lot of really great insights that we have from the 2020 Thread Up report that talk about trends and market shifts, particular to resale. We're also going to tie in how eComm and mobile trends are impacting resale models. And then we're also going to share some consumer insights. Along the way, this is really going to be kind of a tag team between me and Tally, jumping in and kind of an informal conversation. We want to make sure that the data and the statistics that we're providing you are really relevant, right, for your industry. So Tally, jump in at any point on my slides. And then lastly, as always, honestly, whether you're a Bravo customer or not, we want these sessions to be really valuable and actionable. So Tally's going to jump in and talk about kind of some tips and tricks and recommendations for those of you who maybe are not on the eComm or mobile channels and you're thinking about dipping your toe into that. So some ways that you can get started. For those of you who may already be marketing and selling on those channels, we want to provide some recommendations for how you can optimize what you're currently doing to get the most out of your investment, again, whether you're using Bravo solutions or other solutions in your tech stack. As always, we are recording today's presentation, so all the information that we're sharing with you today is going to be sent out to you in an email. I'd mentioned that a lot of the information that we're sharing is from a reputable trend report. We're actually going to send that trend report to you as well. We're just providing a sampling of that information and insights, and we want you to have all that data. What makes these webinars really relevant, we think, is engagement from you, the participants. So certainly feel free to jump in, put questions in the Q&A or the chat, and we'll answer those along the way. And as always, we'll leave plenty of time at the end for Q&A. And lastly, if at any point there is something that is of particular interest, a product that you'd like to take a look at, if you're a current customer and you want to talk strategies about how to get even more from your Bravo solutions, feel free to reach out and we'll get you in touch with the right people. So let's jump in. I know that many of us in the line, we may be tired about talking about COVID and how that is shifting the market, but we simply can't ignore it. It's really kind of changed things, and there is a new normal now. And so in particular, when we look at resale, we see that, you know, some of the trends that we saw, the consumer trends that we'll talk about, and some of the market trends, we saw those things happening for the past, you know, decade or 3-4 years in particular, but COVID really has accelerated and been a catalyst towards this very swift shift to online shopping, and we'll talk more about that. We also see a really notable shift in consumers and what they're prioritizing, and more than anything, they're prioritizing value, which obviously then we see that's where resale comes in, but they're also valuing convenience. And that's where things like eComm and mobile come into play. And we'll tie those things together and connect the dots for you. And lastly, younger generations, they really care more about the health of our planet. They want to find ways to enact that value and find ways to consume, but do that sustainably. And that's, again, where resale comes into play. And we'll share with you some specific numbers that substantiate some of these market shifts. So, you know, the fact is the state we're in, it can feel overwhelming, as you know. It can even feel like we're in crisis mode. But what we really want to do is unearth the opportunity that exists with the challenges, with the change, and even with the COVID crisis. And that's opportunity to deliver something that your consumers need and serve them in a whole new way, which could be a competitive advantage for you, but also an opportunity for your business as well to thrive during these times. So that's kind of the posture that we're taking as we talk about resale and eComm and mobile. All right, so if we jump into just some of the resale market insights, you can see if you look at the numbers on the screen here that resale is poised to accelerate, right? So it's expected to grow. This isn't going anywhere. This isn't just a fad that's happening because of COVID or maybe budgets are tighter. You can actually see that the opportunity is expanding, and it's expanding rapidly over other traditional retail markets. In particular, so we have resale, but now let's tie resale to eComm and online resale. With stay-at-home shelter-in-place things that were enacted with COVID, consumers didn't start consuming any less. All they did was try to find ways to consume or maintain their consuming behavior, but in new ways when they didn't have traditional brick and mortar stores to go into. So they're still seeking the same bargains, but now they're doing it from home, which is why eComm and mobile become so important and important parts of your selling model. And we also see that over traditional retail or even offline resale, that online resale is set to grow at nearly 70%. Again, that's why we're talking about the importance of eComm. Then if we look at consumer insights, which is critically important, it's really consumers that are driving the trends in the market and the shifts in the market. We see that 4 out of 5 consumers here, for example, are, sorry about that, 4 out of 5 consumers are either already shopping secondhand or they're more than willing to shop secondhand when their money gets tight. So again, even though there may be financial constraints or shifts for them in their lifestyle because of some of the things we've seen in COVID, they still want their behavior to be able to be the same, but they're willing to change how they're shopping and what they're shopping for if that money is tight. In fact, we see that from the trend report that we read, nearly 90% of consumers actually said that during the COVID crisis, they adopted a whole new thrifty hobby, as they called it. So things like shopping resale, and they'd never done that, maybe even mending their own clothes or growing a garden. And they also reported that those new behaviors, including online resale shopping, are things they plan to continue, even if the stay-at-home orders, right, don't continue to exist. Something else notable that we pulled from the trend report that you can see is the shift to resale. And so we've talked about, or I touched on the fact that consumers are prioritizing value and online shopping more than other ways of shopping and purchasing over the next 12 months. So this is where shoppers over the next 12 months plan to shift their spend. Still looking to consume, still looking to spend, just in different ways than they were before. So when we look at things like secondhand, Amazon, those are the sectors that are really expected to gain notable customers over the next year. So I do want to pause here. I'm going to have Tally jump in on the next slide because I know we're kind of throwing a lot of statistics at you and things that may actually seem quite intuitive in terms of market and consumer trends. But some of the questions you may be asking yourself is, yes, I know this, but how do I start enacting this, right? Like how do I get into, or how do I optimize what I'm doing in resale? And so I want Tally just to jump in here and touch on kind of brands and categories that you could focus on during this time.
Thanks. So 50% in this slide, a few slides ago, 50% of consumers are cleaning out their closets more than they were pre-COVID. And where this really starts to take effect is in brands. And so brands can be anything from, belts to handbags to footwear to sunglasses to scarves. In this slide, you can see the different brands for different types of budgets. So from Nikes to Louis Vuitton, basically these are categories that you can start to expand upon. If you're like every other pawn shop over the last 3 months, you've seen your loan balance take a dive, and you have no consumer electronics in inventory, and you're trying to figure out how to acquire new customers and new loans. And so all of these customers are out on the street with their loans. And so the question is, how do you get that into your store? And how do you make sure that your customers know that you take these different types of items? And it's really a marketing effort. The great thing about Bravo is that you can have confidence when these items start to come into your store, that you can start saying yes to more. Pawnbrokers now more than ever need to start saying yes, more. What else do you have? How can I help you? So whether you're taking in Nike shoes or Ray-Ban sunglasses, we're going to provide to you the different data points that's relevant for each of these different types of categories. Bravo adds between 50 and 75 categories per year, and we've got more than 1,400 categories in the platform right now. So if there's a new category that you're thinking about taking in, chances are we already have it in the system. Handbags is a huge category, and within each product, we have this price guide report. I don't know how many of you spend time digging into here, but this will really give you confidence in in how much you're selling it for, what you're pricing it for, what you're lending on it, and what you're buying it for, as well as some trending data over the last 12 months. So you can see different items that are really seasonal, perhaps like sunglasses, and things that are way more stable. So this is just showing you the different types of reports that you can pull on every single manufacturer model that we have, as well as how many you have in active inventory. So let's move into consumer sentiments, and then in a few slides, I'm going to show you how to tie in some of the different like marketing and segmenting opportunities that you have within Bravo to actually capture the customers that are out there walking around with things in their closet that they're trying to donate, get rid of, consign, get money on.
Great, thank you. So as a marketer, I'll tell you that this slide is particularly interesting to me. So consumers purchase, and it's an emotional purchase many times. There are feelings behind it. So understanding their sentiments about retail or resale, excuse me, when they're making that purchase is important. And we can see here that consumers feel very proud to shop secondhand. And we'll kind of, you'll see here on the next slide, if we look at the graph on the right, it's not really surprising, right? When we look at that Gen Z and millennials are driving really the shift to resale. Those are audience segments that are adopting this. It's not really surprising when we look at overall customer sentiment that those are the groups, right, that care about sustainability and why they'd feel so proud to be actually taking part in resale shopping. But they like it. They feel proud about that. We also see that women are also a key demographic. And I think Tally had mentioned on one of the previous slides there that, you know, handbags, for example, is one of the top selling categories. And, you know, that substantiates here then that women are a key demographic. In fact, we see that about 64 million women bought secondhand products in 2019 compared to about 56 million. So again, that trend is on the rise. And the last thing that I'll touch on before I turn it over to Tally to kind of give you some more actionable items and strategies is really tying in mobile. So we talked about the fact that consumer segments want value, but they also want convenience. And so when we think about the idea with mobile, that you have customers saying, I want omnichannel, and we'll talk about that in a moment. I want to be able to interact with your brand in store. I still want to come into your store sometimes, but I want to be able to maybe browse what you have on your website. I want to be able to do that anywhere, anytime on mobile. customers are wanting, they're demanding actually that you allow them to interact with your brand in a number of ways. That presents massive opportunity. They're not asking for less of you, they're asking for more of you actually, which is great. When you look at how many times consumers check their phones, the fact that they want to hear from you and see promotions via text message versus email or perhaps direct mail. Text message open rates are so higher, right? All of these statistics together and collectively are telling a story that there's massive opportunity to market and to sell via mobile. And by doing so, you're actually delivering what the consumer wants, and you're going to drive more sales, not only online, but also in store. Tally, I believe that we sometimes share, that we've seen our customers who actually use mobile, they actually see a lot more in-store traffic as well.
Yeah, so that study was originally done by Walmart, and it debunks this thought that if consumers are able to interact with your brand online or via mobile, that they will actually come into your brick and mortar less, and so that you will have less opportunity to sell them, less opportunity for them to put items on layaway. But what Walmart initially found was that customers who had their app downloaded were twice as likely to come into their brick and mortar because of the loyalty and the omni-channel experience that they were giving their customers. And so when we put mobile pawn into place for pawnbrokers see the same. It's more of an effort. You have to attract them into your business for the things that you need them in the brick and mortar for, and you leave the convenient things that they can do from home up to the consumer's convenience, because we know that consumers are demanding more and more convenience, and that's not going away. Things are getting easier for them. Things are way more at the fingertips. Shipping is 1 day, same day, 2 day is the standard, and anything longer than that feels like you're waiting a really long time. There's not that instant gratification. And so the real opportunity here is segmenting and marketing your customers for what you want them to do. It's more of a one-to-one marketing approach where you're basically segmenting a particular type of customer that you want to come in and do a loan for more than $5,000, whereas perhaps there's a different segment that you want to offer 10% off on a certain category to come buy something from your store. And so there's all these little opportunities that you can play with within the customer ad hoc and segmentation that will allow you to drive that traffic more. And so to piggyback off of that, the omni-channel advantage really refers to a customer-centric approach to your customers. And this includes not only e-commerce, but now this is starting to really include mobile and every touch point that your customer might have with your brand. So that can include reviews now. It includes shopkeeper. It includes any of your online presence, whether it's your website or your own company branded website. All of these things are now what's called omni. And what that means for you is that your customers feel more loyal to your brand, like extremely loyal to your brand. And they're gonna think of you. And right now, over the next 6-12 months, that's what you want. When your customer is sitting at home and they have something that they need to get a loan on, you want to pop in their head first before any other competitor or avenue does. And what I mean by avenue is that the pawn industry is being encroached on by other brands like, OfferUp and Facebook Marketplace. And your job is disrupting that pattern where these apps make it so easy for consumers to buy and sell and trade amongst each other. You have to create a reason for them to come into your store instead of just going down the street and swapping products with a neighbor. And so you can offer some services within your store that can actually drive traffic into your store. One example of that is like authentication. So a really amazing product out there is Entropy, and that's how a lot of pawnbrokers and resellers are authenticating handbags. And so what you can do is you can basically source deals. So on OfferUp, when your customers come through the door, and you can say, hey, if you want free authentication services, you can come into my store. I'll authenticate it for free. And what you're doing there is you're actually gaining 2 customers, and you've got 2 shots to sell. You've got a customer who wants to sell stuff and feels comfortable selling their things out of their closet. And so you can capture them while they're in there to come back to your store and guarantee to give them more than they would if they were gonna, sell it to somebody on OfferUp. And you've got a buyer who loves to buy resale. And so you can start to increase your footprint in people who have never been into a pawn shop before, and get them hooked into your Omni. You're gonna have more actionable data. You're gonna have email addresses and phone numbers. You're gonna be able to remarket these customers way easier. And then it's all about your brand and brand consistency and the way that you're showing up in all of these places. So I wanted to show you a little bit about Omni from an e-commerce perspective. And this is just going to go through, how you can sell the same item in multiple channels simultaneously. And so on a firearm specifically, we've got used guns, and you've got used guns where you can check the box, and company branded where you can check the box. One thing that's cool on here is that we have the web price. And so you can actually price this for more or less online. And that report that I showed you earlier, you can actually see what channels this item is selling in, how fast it sells there, and what kind of margin you can make per channel. So sometimes on items, it can sell for much more, 10, 15, 20% more in store. And on other products, it's the exact opposite. Also within the dual channel pricing, you want to contemplate free shipping, because that's industry standard and nobody wants to pay for shipping anymore. And so really pricing your inventory competitively and offering shipping rates that are, match the competition is super important here. And so I'm going to show you another example of something that's more general, not a firearm, where you can actually sell that in 4 different channels. And so the channels that are available to you through Bravo are Buya, eBay, company branded, and if it's a firearm, you've got used guns. And this all ties into the mobile app, because via Mobile Pawn, your customers also have the opportunity to shop your inventory with the shopping app right there. And so again, it's really creating this consistent branding experience for all of your customers to be able to interact with your brand, buy from your brand. We just added 2-way chat into Shopkeeper and Mobile Pawn. So now you have constant communication with your customers going back and forth. So one of the things that Kathleen and I really prioritize in these webinars is that making sure that you're coming out of these with actionable information, whether you're a customer or whether you're not a customer. There's a huge percentage of pawnbrokers, more than 50%, that's still not selling online, and that's okay. And there's a place to start. The first thing is really store procedures and wrap, pack, and ship. And so those are the first 2 things that you want to try to put into place. And what I mean by store procedures is, how quickly do you want to respond to web feedback? How quickly are you trying to ship that item out of your store? And now more than ever, there's some fraud procedures that I'm going to talk about to make sure that you're protected when you're selling online. And then wrap, pack, and ship. Uline has really awesome wrap, pack, ship stations. One of the things that Steve, who's my dad, realized in 99 and 2000 when he put 50 stores on eBay in a single day, he realized that there's idle time in a pawn shop. You don't really know when it's going to be because the door is always swinging. But when there's free time and when there's no customers in the store, your employees, your team members who are used to helping people in line can now help people online. And so setting up a wrap, pack, ship station, put that in the front. Don't put that in the back room, put it in the front room. Let your customers know that you ship, that you sell online, have information out. And that way, when somebody walks into the door, your employees can just turn around and help the person in the store. I always like to tell this story of the Gap in San Francisco. About like a year and a half or 2 years ago, I went to go pick up some clothes for my daughter. And I was shopping around, and the guy who was working there was fulfilling wrap, pack, and ship. Like he probably had 50 orders in this bucket. And I started talking to him and I said, oh, do you always do wrap, pack, and ship? Or, you know, like, when did you start this? And it was this movable kiosk that was going around the whole store that actually checked me out in the middle of the store. He moved it back for when I was checking out. And he helped me find what I was looking for, checked me out. And as I was walking out the door, he started doing wrap, pack, and ship again. And one of the things that he told me is, he said, you know, we laid off like a lot of our employees temporarily just to see if this works. And in the back of my head, I was thinking, like, there's no way that you're ever going back to having all of those employees doing two things when a single employee can do both. And so all of that was happening in the front of the room. They weren't wrap, packing, and shipping behind, you know, the retail floor in Gap, and neither do you. You don't have to do that as well. The second thing is invest in a light box or a photo setup. Pictures are key to selling online. And, you know, with Shopkeeper, we make it super easy. Shopkeeper is our mobile app for employees that drives employee engagement and actually employee satisfaction to give them autonomy around the store to do things that need to get done. And so what with Shopkeeper you can do is you just scan the barcode with your phone and you take a picture of the item. And part of the store procedures can dictate the dollar amount and how much effort you spend on the photographs. So on really high dollar items, you want to spend more time, proportionate amount of time, than, you know, regular commodity items that are about $100 or less. And so you want to pay attention to how much time you're spending and really take the time on those higher end items to take good pictures. And then the estimator. So if you're a Bravo customer, you want to run things through the Bravo estimator. That's for the categorization. And so a few of the things that we do on our side is we feed your inventory into Google and Facebook. And one of the things that we have with Google is, it's formerly the product listing ads, now it's called shopping ads. And we actually have an API that talks with Google through what's called merchant accounts. So when you're a Baya customer, you've got a merchant account through Baya, and we actually feed your inventory into Google real time. And so that's different than most organizations and most ways that Google ads are set up, where you're uploading CSVs of inventory. We actually feed that in real time, and we geolocate it to your store. So now when somebody's at home and they're looking for something specifically, and we know that they're doing that more and more now, they are shopping from home, your store, your presence, your brand will pop up and hopefully drive that in-store traffic. And that's something that we see a ton of with stores that are selling on Baya, is it actually drives about 114% more in-store sales than if you're not using it. And that's where that comes from. And so the categorization is really important in the way that people find things online. If you shop on any eComm site, Amazon, eBay, you know that they're what's called taxonomy, the way that they categorize all of their items is really, really specific. And it's for that same reason, so that customers can find the inventory the fastest on those sites. So they're feeding into Google and Facebook as well. And so you're competing against those people. And so the categorization that Bravo sets up for you is automatic when you're a Baya customer. We also do that for eBay for you, and you're on your own company branded website. So that's where to start on the eComm if you haven't yet started any eComm yet. And there's other options, you know, wrap, pack, and ship if you just want to start with in-store pickup. That's a way to really just dip your toe in. Also, you know, Baya is a really low risk marketplace, whereas eBay, it's like one strike and you're out. So you can find more low risk marketplaces where you can get your employees used to selling online and inline, being a retailer, and now you're also going to be an e-tailer. And that takes practice. It takes a few months, and it's going to take feedback from online customers before you really make sure that you're ready to go on some of these marketplaces that are much more strict. Another thing that just naturally happens, and it's always funny when I say this and then customers eventually do it and then they come back to me and they're like, oh my gosh, you're right, is that stepping up, the way that your store looks online is really an indicator of how it looks in store. So the best e-tailers, their retail looks great. And if you've got a really sloppy e-commerce presence, your store is maybe not as organized as well. And so stepping up your eComm presence will actually elevate your internal organization to up the in-store appearance as well. Another just a side of selling e-commerce, if you need another reason to, from a loss prevention standpoint, and this is something that's super interesting. People don't usually steal from the back room because those items that are on loan are randomly audited by your customer, by the person that's going to come make a payment. And depending on your store policies, you might have to go retag that, or you want to go check on it and make sure it's still in the back room. And so usually internal theft doesn't happen from the back room. It happens from the inventory floor because things go missing, and it could be for a variety of reasons on the actual retail floor. What you'll find when you start selling online, that is a random independent audit happening 24/7. And as an operator, you will have visibility into every item that can't be found, that's mispriced, that was just canceled for basically no reason. And so you now will have more visibility into your retail operation as a result of switching to e-tail as well. So ways to improve, 3 here. The first is price competitively. If you're going to sell online and you want people to come and you want people to actually buy things from you, you've got to price competitively. You have to do the research. Baya's price guide and Bravo's price guide gives you a starting place to be able to do that. But that's really, really important for selling online. Pictures and pricing right is basically the key to success. Also writing good descriptions. And so in Bravo, the descriptions is what's fed into the Google feed and the way that we describe the meta tags of your items. But really, when you're buying something online, and especially if it's used, you want to make sure that you understand exactly what you're getting. And so being over communicative on any scratches, anything that might be wrong with the product, if it's missing any cords, all of that information should be in the description of the item. And that will actually reduce your return rate drastically. And one of the things that we realized really early on when we started selling online, and again, this was back in '99, was that the better the description and the more open and forward you are with the areas that it's lacking and that it's used, your return rate will decrease dramatically. And using the estimator and answering all of those questions, although they can be optional, when you sell online, you really want to answer those because those are the questions that consumers want to know. Those are consumer-driven questions, and they're really standard on every other site. And so when they're looking at your presence on your own company branded website, and they're looking at eBay, and eBay's got more details than you do, they're probably going to select the one that they really know exactly what they're getting. And standard returns for e-com are between 6 and 10%, and Bravo's returns through our platform is 3. And so this, thought that, oh my gosh, like everybody hates dealing with returns. Like it's a pain to have things come back. But with our return management process and automation, we make that part as seamless as possible. So that's not a sticking point for you, that you might have 3% return rate doesn't become a reason why you just don't want to do it at all. And the last thing is deliver wow. And what I mean by that is your online customers are important, and you have the opportunity to remarket and remarket and remarket them again. You own that customer information, you own that customer, and you own their email address. And so if you've got a customer that's engaging in offering things, because these sites have buy it now or make an offer, how are you responding? How are your employees responding to those offers? Are you trying to close the deal? Are you shipping out those items quickly? If something's wrong with the item, don't ship it if you realize that it didn't match the description. Go to the customer and let them know that you misdescribed the item on accident and that this is what it actually is, and would you still like to ship it out? So really, you want to treat those online customers like customers. They are customers, and I think it's around 40% of our Raya customers are repeat customers, so they come back. And you can do that. You can be part of that. And so you really want to elevate your customer service, not just for in-store experience, but also for online experience.
Callie, real quick, there was a question about the API, the Google API, and just around if we only offer that for company branded.
So we offer, the API is only for BIA stores, and that actually we invest, of the 8% that we get on successful sales, we invest 6.5% of that back into those Google ads. And since we don't take a success on the company branded, we leave the advertising up to you. But if you're interested in how that works, I'd be happy to sort of give you a tour of that and see if we might be able to help you set up your own merchant account with Google so that you can buy the ads. But what's awesome about those Google shopping ads is that it's specific to the manufacturer model, but it only costs between 1 and 3 cents per click. And that's how we're able to accumulate the millions and millions of views that we get per item of yours that are listed on Baya. So yeah, I'd be happy to show you that, and maybe I can shoot a quick video and send that over to you. Is that Mario that asked that? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so one of the pieces, if you're a Bravo customer, you probably noticed last night we did a big release. And one of the things that we wanted to address as quickly as possible is the rising fraud that's happening. And fraud is on the rise as a symptom of COVID. People are unemployed and they're at home and they're bored, and they've got really sophisticated fraudsters in basically, selling credit card data. And now credit card data is sold with much more data than just the number. And so when we did the integration with Blue Dog, we actually set that up for the most stringent standards. And so the billing zip code has to match, and the CVV number has to match, and everything has to match. But still, the sophistication of what's happening in online fraud goes beyond what any processor can provide as far as protection. And so one of the things that we did within Bravo's UI is we made all of these fraud alerts for you now. And so we're using a accumulation of different data points to basically alert you to items that might be potentially fraudulent. So the first thing is we're going to show you in all these little yellow caution alerts that there's a potential fraud alert. The second is you're going to be able to see that in this column, and this column is defaulted to on. So you should have all of these. So you can see this top one is where we might have potential fraud. Upon hovering over it, you'll be able to see why we've flagged this as suspicious. So we're going to show you that zip code is banned. So there's particular zip codes. Best practice is to ban them. So maybe the zip code's banned. Maybe there's a zip code mismatch on the shipping versus the billing address. And the other one is there's many recent orders. And so we're actually going to give you more details within this screen. You're going to be able to see their customer rating. We're also going to show you how long they've been a Baya customer. So this person's had an account for 10 days. Their global orders over the last 5 days. And then again, a highlight of the fraud suspicions down here. Now on the account creation piece on Baya, used guns, company branded, we did a dual check on email addresses as well. So these are all things that we put into place over the last 30, 60 days to make sure that we can help you stay protected. But you're going to want to build these sorts of policies into your e-commerce because you can't avoid it. Similar to the way that pawnbrokers really build policies and procedures around taking in stolen merchandise, you want to put effort into making sure that you're not selling items and shipping them out when there's fraud, because you're going to get charged back and you really can't recover on that money. So spend time there, spend time training your employees on what this means, and then make the determination on whether you want to ship the item or not. We're going to give you all of the information for billing and shipping. We're going to give you phone numbers. Another best practice as far as shipping is searching the building on Google Maps. You can see if it's a warehouse or what type of building it is. And we think that this new user interface is going to make it much easier for you to identify basically make the determination whether you want to ship or not. So now I'm going to jump briefly into mobile, and then I'm going to wrap up with some of those types of segments on how you can basically attract customers into your store and new people that maybe haven't been into your store before. And so tips for mobile, where to start is first, just enable it. And nearly every platform, whether you're a Bravo customer or not, sign up for digital marketing, whether it's just texting or whether it's text and email or text, email, and push notification, whatever is available to you, do that, whatever your software provider currently has. Add digital marketing. It is, the return on the investment happens immediately, month over month over month. And as you can see, consumers look at their phones all day long. The average consumer checks their phone 52 times a day. I don't know if you guys have Apple screen time, but I think I touch mine like 300 times a day, which is just basically disgusting. So make sure that you've got phone numbers. In Bravo, if you're a Bravo customer, you can actually require phone numbers and require email addresses. If you've ever been into some of the major retailers, they always ask for an email address. That's why, because they have that as a required field. That's going to allow you to accumulate data that you're going to be able to take action on. And so you're going to be able to segment and directly market to those customers, but to market to them, you have to have their information. And so training would be something that you want to get started on, at least starting to collect the information. Then you can decide on how you want to, go after those different segments after. And then just the low-hanging fruit is just setting up automated birthday messages or store anniversaries messages to your customers. Again, customers are looking for somewhere to buy. They're not buying, and so giving them a reason to come to your store, whether it's letting them know that it's your birthday and they can come in for 10% off, or letting them know, like, we're happy that you're a customer, thanks for being a customer, just a thank you on store anniversaries would be really low-hanging fruit on where to get started. If you're already using digital marketing, I'm going to talk briefly and show you a little bit of our new automated and recurring messages that you can start sending out on notices. You can do both courtesy notices and required notices, and that's for layaway and loan payments mainly. And why that's so awesome is because it really increases your brand loyalty. If you're helping your customers out and reminding them that they have payments to make, they will make those payments more frequently, and they will not default on those loans and layaways. And the number one reason why people default is because they forgot. And so the more reminders and nudges that you can give them that their payment is coming due, and doing that on a recurring basis, the better. And especially right now when loan balances were plummeting and you want to hold on to as much as your loan balance as you can right now. These recurring messages help you do that. The second piece is, if you're a Bravo customer and you're not really familiar with customer Adhoc, get in there. It is, I think, the most fun. I'm a dork that way, but it's the most fun part of Bravo to me that there is. So I'm going to show you some of the criteria that you can start to play with. But if you're not really familiar with customer Adhoc, we've got lots of webinars and videos on how to get started, but that's just a fun place to start. And as a marketer or somebody that's trying to execute on different campaigns, that's a great place to do it. And then the last thing is, and this can be for mobile, but this is just in general, a referral program. If you don't have a referral program in place, you should get that in place as soon as possible, because again, all of the loans were just redeemed. Not all, but a lot of loans were just redeemed over the last 3 months. And so there's all these people with their items back. And how are you making sure that that item comes back into your store instead of your competitor's store, or instead of them selling it on OfferUp? And for customers that you have that have friends that also get loans, you want to try to capture those people that you've never even met or have ever walked into your store ever before. The last piece of that is, I don't know if, at the loan counter when you're doing a transaction with somebody and you see other pawn tickets in their wallet that aren't yours, You want wallet share. That's something that we sort of termed it at SuperPawn. You want to make sure that all the pawn tickets in their wallet are from your store. And so you want to make sure that you're letting your customers know that you can cover all of their loans. They don't have to go out to lots of different stores now. They can redeem their loans at other stores and come back into your store. You can give them favorable rates. You can give them, 1 month free. You can set up whatever type of loan promotion that you want or can within Bravo, and we can do that automatically for you. But get those loan customers back into your business, because to resale, you need the inventory to resale. And that's what's happening just across the industry right now, is there's just not enough inventory, and you've got to get creative in how you're getting it. So as promised, customer ad hoc. If you go into customers and you click ad hoc, I'm just going to run through some of the criteria that might be helpful for you. So the first one is the first time in. So that's a date, and you can do it within a range. So I want to market everybody who came into my store for the first time last month, last year, for the last 3 months, whatever time range you want to put in there. And then the last time that they were in. So maybe you haven't seen them for a year and you want to see them again. Maybe you saw them last month and you want to see them again. So again, you can set that one up for a range. Loans activity is going to be a number. So how many loans did they do transacted between the last 3 months, the last 6 months, the last year, the last 18 months? You can pick that range. Mobile pawn activation date. So do they have mobile pawn activated? Push notifications are cheaper. It's the cheapest way to message a customer. It's 2 cents opposed to 7 cents for text messaging. So if you can get them on the mobile app, again, they're twice as likely to visit your store, just based on the brand loyalty and that omni-channel experience. And then here's the rest of the criteria. So sales activity, again, that's going to be, we've got dollar amounts and the number. And so here I'm going to fill this in as a range. So I want everybody that transacted between January 1st and yesterday, I'm going to pull a report for them, and I'm going to do it by, let's say, a range of dollar amounts. So anywhere from $1 to $1,000 loan that they got. And I'm going to also do a loan activity. So maybe they did between 1 and, 10 loans, I think I did. And so you can build this report however you'd like, with whatever ranges, also greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to, and build this out and get creative. And so some of the areas for opportunity are, if you haven't, everybody that just redeemed a loan in the last 3 months, like how do you get those loans back in your door? And for people who haven't done a loan with you in 12 months, what happened and how can you get their loans? Everybody that you sold an item to, how do you get the items that you just sold them back into your store? And so you want to get creative. And the awesome thing about this is that you can segment it by really small little pockets of demographics, so that you don't have to be sending a blast to every single one of your customers every time you want to send a message. You can actually really target this and measure it. You want to measure what's working, and you want to repeat what's working, and obviously you want to tailor what's not working to make it more efficient for you. And so in this particular example, I'm filtering everybody that doesn't have mobile pawn. I'm going to send them a code to download mobile pawn. Again, I'm going to say it one more time, that customers with a mobile pawn with a mobile app enabled to your location are twice as likely, twice more frequently, to come visit your store when they have that. And then the last piece is this recurring notices piece that we just released today. And so you can set up your reminders to be daily, weekly, monthly. And of course, in all of these, there's links. If you're ever within Bravo and you see a header with something underlined like that, you can always click it and it'll take you right to the article to teach you how to use it. Here's where you set up birthdays and store anniversaries. And so we make that really simple for you. We drop in some default text. And then in our last release, we actually came up with this new character builder, so you can see how many texts this includes. And so we do that for transparency, so you can see exactly how many texts you're about to send to a particular customer. So that was a lot of information. And I've got a few questions. So I'm going to start with Tony's question on Blue Dog. Blue Dog's totally optional. So you can choose to turn it on for point of sale, e-commerce, and or mobile. You don't have to turn it on for any, or you can select which channels you want to accept Blue Dog for. We actually haven't flipped Blue Dog back on for e-commerce yet. We're going to be doing that on Thursday. And I think that's the only two questions that we got so far. I would love to hear your feedback. If anybody has anything that's been working, any sort of criteria that you want to build for an ad hoc, any ideas that you have that you might need help trying to figure out what criteria to add into that report, I'm happy to help you do that. Otherwise, Kathleen and I will stick on for a few more minutes. Today's webinar had awesome attendance, and thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate the opportunity to talk about what's going on in the industry, sharing our insights. We spend a lot of time not only talking to pawnbrokers, but reading these really huge market insight reports and trends on what's going on so that we can try to apply this information to your business to help you. And then, of course, we just wrapped the Midwest Convention 2 weekends ago and spoke to a lot of stores there and trying to get an idea of what's going on in the industry. So I hope this was incredibly relevant. And if you want to, you were asking about if you want to list on firearms, but not on company branded, but not used guns, you can do that. You can absolutely do that. So for keeping track of how many messages you've sent for customers, yes, we have that. That's in, I think it's definitely in reports within the back end, but I can get you that information, the exact report, Mario, on how many messages you've sent to customers. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. I was going to say as well, you know, Tally and I spend time kind of each month thinking through what we think are relevant topics, but we'd love to know what you think are relevant topics. So keep an eye out for, you know, in our customer newsletter that we send out every month, we can put a survey asking what are things that you would find valuable for us to kind of put the time and the legwork into doing that research and then presenting for you. So keep an eye out for that. Or if you have, you know, any ideas, you can always shoot Tally a message or myself, Kathleen@buya.com. We'd love to hear from you. Well, it looks like there's another question in there from Linda.
Yeah, so as far as adding referral rewards, we don't have that on the roadmap for 2020, but we do have coupons built into our 2021 roadmap. A few areas where you can, that are low-hanging fruit as far as allowing this is within the customer, you always have referral as a referral type, so word of mouth. You can also drop in the notes where they heard that from, which customer, and you can actually run reports based on the customers that are giving you referrals. And you can either add store credits into their account, or you can actually give gift cards. And so with gift cards, you can just add whatever dollar amount, maybe it's $10 for every referral that walks through your door, so you can do it that way. And then the last piece of sort of lower hanging fruit on getting the word out is that pawn ticket coupon space within Bravo, within each of your pawn tickets. So if you're in a state that allows that quarter panel of coupons, you can actually start advertising for your referral program, whatever that is. That's a great question. Okay, I've got a few other questions. Auto notice for pawn loans, Tony. We don't auto push any notifications, but that new recurring, if it's a courtesy reminder, you can set up whatever automated recurring ones that you want. So yes and no, it depends on your particular regulations, but you can set up recurring auto notices for your courtesy text messages for loans and layaways. Two-way chat is a new feature in Mobile Pawn and Shopkeeper. I'm going to create a Loom, Victoria, and I will send that to you, a little video on how that works now. We are continuing to expand two-way chat through Mobile Pawn and Shopkeeper as well to make it like more more user-friendly, and more relevant for your consumers. Tony, yes, two-way communication now with the update. We did it. Still working on, again, improving and enhancing and optimizing that functionality. Okay, as far as eBay, Buy It, and Bravo communicating together, I'm not familiar with that issue, and I haven't heard that one specifically. So let me dig into your cases, Kelly, and find out what's going on and if that was solved. eBay does update their API quite frequently, and we adapt and update as well. So I will find out specifically with your store what was going on and if that's been fixed.
I love the engagement. I love the questions. We have more coming in.
All right, so Rodney, on Cody's Pond needing your own website. So you can do this a few different ways, but yes, you're gonna wanna buy a domain, or you can use your existing domain. I've seen stores do both ways. At Bravo, we sort of call it a shop dot, a company branded, if you've ever heard us use that name. That's because most stores decide that they wanna use like shop.codyspond.com as your shopping site, but it's totally up to you. GoDaddy is what we use as well. And thanks for saying that I'm the best. I think that you're the best. So Mario, that's a good question on Zapier. We don't have a Zapier with Bravo. I'd love to find out more on what you're trying to use. We do have, obviously, the ability to pull any file format and any report out of Bravo. So if you're looking to suck that into somewhere else, maybe like MailChimp, if you really like their email communication platform, or a different format. Also, if you're still on the webinar and you're interested, sometimes people miss some of the releases that we come out with, but we now allow for your store phone number to be the number that you text from out of Bravo. So if you're somebody that gave us feedback that said, hey, it's really annoying that when my customers call the number that I texted them from, it goes to like La La Land. We fixed that and that's done. And so just submit a ticket for that and we can work on linking your accounts. Awesome. I think that's it.
I think so. So we'll be sending out the recording, links to the trend report that we were referencing, and then it sounds like Tally will be touching base with some of you individually. But thank you so much for your time, and again, feel free to send us ideas for webinars. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.